Hey guys, Dan Young here with Dan's Millionaire Code. And every week I bring to you a mega Jedi entrepreneur, someone who's created something amazing from zero dirt, and in the hopes that you can learn virtually how to create your own business or scale the one that you have. All I ask that you do with this is two things: take notes and execute, and also share it with friends and loved ones who may benefit from this vast amount of knowledge you're going to get today. Today I'm really excited because today's guest is my friend and serial entrepreneur, Jeremy Jones. He's a force of nature, by the way, a lifelong serial entrepreneur, and he's founded and exited over 10 different companies across multiple industries, from restaurants, real estate, fitness, education, medical aesthetics, skincare, and software. It's a lot. He's got crazy ADD like me, but much more controlled. He's currently CEO of Sanoderm Medical, the world's leading tattoo aftercare bandage provider. They put them on your tattoos after so they heal good. And he's also executive director of the Institute of Human Anatomy. He has warehouses of cadavers. It's pretty amazing. We're going to talk about that. And it's the only private human cadaver lab, and it's grown to over 6.5 million social media followers. With nearly 100 million views in less than 1 year. Real estate investor as well, just like myself. It has multiple degrees, finance degrees, master in business administration from BYU. The dude can run. He's an outdoor enthusiast with a passion for hooshing, adventures of all types, and a pursuit of personal growth, and he's a great dad. great dad and husband.
Thank you, Dan.
He also biohacking, storytelling, and self-discovery expert. Okay, so we met, Jeremy, welcome. Hello.
Thank you, Dan. Thank
We
you.
met decades ago because we share a similar mentor who was teaching us stuff over the years, and so we've bumped into each other a lot of different training sessions, fun sessions, events, and all the other Jedi were there. And man, it's been a long time. It's been a couple decades, maybe, since that first, I don't know, a long time.
Not that long, but it's been a long time.
Time flies, huh?
Yeah.
But it's been a while. And one thing we share in common is we both love scaling companies, right?
Yeah.
And creating something from nothing. So tell us about what you've built and where you came from to how you got to where you are today.
Right on. Okay. First of all, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I'm born and raised in Utah, local guy here. Serial entrepreneur, meaning that literally is from as young as I can remember, I've been hustling. I would go to the local pond, and catch salamanders when I was a kid, and I would put them in bottles, and I'd take them to school, and I'd sell them to kids. And
Farming.
That was back when I was fourth grader, third grader, whatever. But I grew up. We didn't have a ton. We were basically middle class. My dad was a hard worker, worked multiple jobs. He did a little bit of entrepreneurial stuff. He did some real estate investing and owned some fourplexes and stuff. But my grandfather on my mom's side, he was a really kind of impactful person to me in my life, and he was absolutely an entrepreneur, like to the absolute nth degree. And I think that whether I had some of that in my DNA or whether that was kind of learned at an early age, even though he died when I was pretty young, but that's, I think, maybe where some of that came from. So I have never worked for a company after graduating from college that I didn't have some stake in either. I was either a founder, co-founder, or an investor. And so I chose that path, I guess, in that getting a job and going and sitting down and working for somebody else for some reason never had really any appeal to me. Even though I went and got my master's degree at BYU, I didn't do that for the intent of putting it on a resume or going and applying for a job or anything like that. So it started for me really young. Right out of college, actually before I graduated from college, I started my first real business with my first partner.
Mm-hmm. What was that?
The company was called Berkland and Jones, but it was a restaurant. It was Alberto's Mexican food. It's still there today.
Whoa!
Yeah, Fifth South and Third West.
I've been there once.
Yeah, it's a great place.
You sneak in there once in a while, grab burritos?
Actually, yes, I do, because my partner and really good friend, still good friends, still great friends, which I think is incredibly important. His name's Carl Berkland. He still owns that location. He also has one in Park City.
Whoa.
But after we were there together for about 5 years, we decided to part ways, and he bought me out. And as part of my deal is that whenever I want, I can go in Alberto's and get a free burrito.
Let's go there and get burritos.
Let's do it. Let's do it, because it's incredible good food, and he's a great guy, and so that was really literally, that's kind of like where I cut my teeth. He and I both we had nothing. I mean, our parents didn't have much, and we actually franchised that from a company out of California, and the landlord wanted a tenant with at least $1 million net worth, and I was 20. I think I was 21 or 22 at the time.
You're just a kid, man.
Yeah, I didn't have $1 million net worth. Neither did my parents. Neither did his parents. Neither did he. So we had to pull some strings and get really innovative to figure that out. And we were able to do it, and worked with the landlord, and we got in there and we opened a business, and we worked hard, man. I mean, we worked really hard for that first year and a half. And the restaurant business is a great business, but it is a hard business.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so, but in our first year, we were actually the #1 gross selling store in all of the franchise across all the states.
Dude.
So there were 73. I think there were 73 Albertos at the time, and it was really big in California at the time. And but we came in and we broke all the records.
You were Alberto's Grande.
That Grande, yes, Maximo. Yeah, and so that was a really great first experience. And when we were friends in high school, actually, and so one of the things that we did actually before we went into business together is we sat down and we made a pact, essentially, that said, hey, no matter what happens here, we are going to stay friends. We had some advice early on that friendship and businesses can be challenging and stuff like that, and so. We stuck to it, and
cool.
Yeah, I still see him regularly and love him dearly, and he's amazing, and he's got a second location, like I mentioned, up in Park City. So go check him out if you're here.
There's 2 Albertos.
Yeah, well, there's probably, well, actually, I think in Utah, I'm not sure exactly
That he owns here.
that he owns here. Yes, those 2. And
Alberto's
Mexican food. It's really really good. Anyway, so that was the first one, and during that period of time, the early stages of that business, I also went into started real estate. I got my real estate license. Started as an agent, and shortly after that, started a mortgage company, and sold that to some of the employees that worked for us.
Wow.
Yeah, and moved on from there and I'm not going to go through all the different things that I did in this journey, but I did do something in all of those different industries, and to some degree or another, some of them were successful, some of them I still am working on, which we'll probably talk about here in a minute. And then some were failures or ended in destruction, I guess, if you will, or at least not the way that you would hope. However, the cool thing about that is that I don't know that I would necessarily trade that for anything, because the lessons that I learned during that process were invaluable. And
and you've been through a lot, man. We've been friends for a while. And
yeah,
you've been through some crazy stuff, huh?
Yeah, I have. I have been through some crazy stuff. And one of the things I think that has helped me from an early age, as far as kind of being resilient, and an entrepreneur's lifestyle is challenging, no matter whether I think you're knocking it out of the park and you're buying the Lambos and you're making millions of dollars, or if you're kind of grinding it out and it's the early stages and you're working a lot of hours, you're wearing multiple hats. The one thing that I think is kind of paramount, or would be very good to know going in, is the relationships that you have, the key ones, especially like your wife, for example, or your significant other. That scenario can be challenging on them in ways that maybe you don't necessarily realize, because if you go get a job, for some reason people have this false sense of security in having a job oftentimes. And I say false sense of security because I don't believe that a job is secure necessarily.
No,
you can go through layoffs, not. You can have all sorts of different things like that. And
big companies, just you're a number. You're a statistic.
Yeah.
Oh, we need to downsize you. I've been here 20 years. Goodbye.
Yes. Yeah. And so I've never felt that that's a path to stability necessarily for me, and you know, I think maybe sometimes you might be wired a little bit differently, but I don't necessarily think that either. I think anybody can actually go do this, whether they want to do it, you know, full scale, full time, or whether they want to do it, you know, on a side hustle or a side project that's a passion project or something like that. A lot of times, people's passion projects can turn into something a lot more than just a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so the lifestyle and the taxation, I guess, of being an entrepreneur does have its ups and downs. And as you mentioned, you know, there's been some hardships and some challenges there and stuff like that, and they really test you.
We'll circle back around to that, but tell us about what you're currently doing now.
Right on, cool. So this is exciting because you know, as much as I have done or whatever, and as many companies as I've been involved with and stuff like that, I feel in a lot of ways like I'm just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
And
Day one, right?
Day one. Every day is a day one. You get to reset. That's I think one of the coolest things too is that people need to remember is that every single day you wake up, you have another chance. It's refresh or reset and all that kind of stuff. As long as you stay consistent, you can get back on there. But anyway, so what I'm doing right now is I'm the CEO of a company called Senator Medical. We're the world's #1 provider of medical grade bandages for tattoo aftercare. We're expanding our brand into additional products, and it's been around. I didn't start the company. The founders are Scott and Natalie Hughes, and it's been around since I think 2010 roughly.
Nice.
And it's been growing steadily ever since. And in the last couple of years, we've been in Utah's fastest growing top 100 from the Mountain West Capital Network, and we're really finally getting aligned with like our organization, our culture, and stuff like that. The thing I guess I'd probably want to talk about there at Senator right now is that you know, the number one most important factor really is the team, is the people at the company. Customers are absolutely part of that equation, but if our team, if our organization isn't firing on all cylinders, our customers are going to know it. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that I'm really trying to focus in on right now. And as we grow as an organization, both in revenue and market share and all that kind of stuff, but as a company with personnel and people, I'm really wanting to try and make sure that you know, I take care of my team. They're what makes it all happen.
Absolutely.
And
it's
as
super
you know,
critical.
yeah. And so Senator. You know, we are, like I just said, we're growing rapidly. We continue on that trajectory. Interestingly enough, talking about hardships, COVID. Everybody's going through that right now and has been from the beginning of the year. And so I don't know if we will make the top growing companies in 2020 because we did take a hit, and we took a serious hit,
Because tattoo artists know they're not doing as many.
Yeah, and when COVID first came out and everything got shut down, every non-essential business got shut down overnight. Every tattoo artist in the country lost their revenue, lost their everything.
That's horrible.
Yeah, and so then of course they don't need our product, and so as an organization we dropped 84% of our sales in literally, you know, in a couple of weeks.
That's stressful.
Yeah, it was rough. The one thing I think that I'm probably most I guess proud of right now in how we handled that as an organization, I didn't lose a single person. I didn't lay anybody off, but the entire team had to participate, me included. We all took pay cuts. We all kind of hunkered down. We were able to take some government assistance and stuff like that, but we didn't know how long that was going to last for us. We didn't know, you know, if the industry would bounce back or anything like that. We did weather that first wave well. I mean, losing 86% of your revenue, 84% of your revenue, you know, how well can you weather that? But
is it open now, though?
Absolutely.
So people can get tattoos now?
Yeah. And in fact, the first 2 months back after that first shutdown wave, you know, back into as soon as the summer started, we set monthly records for, you know, since the company's been in business.
So now you guys are...
So now we're back going. We hit those records. I think there was pent-up demand, and then we kind of, you know, dipped back down, but we're still on a trajectory of growth. And so,
nice
yeah, thanks. And you know, I think whatever happens over the next little while with the rest of this virus and that kind of thing, while I'm concerned, I mean, I'm concerned economically on a macro level. I think we as a company and more importantly we as a race, a human race, we're going to come through this no problem.
Always do.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's where we're at right now with Sanoderm. We've got some pretty cool, exciting initiatives moving into 2021. We want to expand not only our product line, but we also want to expand into different markets, different verticals, and stuff like that. So we're gearing up to do that, and pretty stoked about that.
I want to hear about this because you're like, dude. I'm like, so you told me I have this other company, and we have a giant building with dead bodies.
Yeah, so that is the other thing that I'm involved with, and
I was like, ooh.
Yeah, we set that one up. I started that company with my brother-in-law. Actually,
what's it called?
Partner. It's called the Institute of Human Anatomy.
Institute of Human Anatomy.
Yeah, and I started that with my brother-in-law, Jonathan Benyon. Before I was involved with Sanoderm, back I think it was in 2011 or 12 when we started that, and really this is really talking about entrepreneurial spirit and stuff like that. This is really the genesis of that, which was he was teaching anatomy at the Utah School of Massage Therapy. He was pre-med, and long story short, the Utah School of Massage Therapy lost their contract with the University of Utah to utilize their cadaver lab in their education process.
Oh, okay.
So they lost that contract for a number of reasons, but when that happened, the students that were there at the school at the time almost kind of had like a little mini revolt. I mean, that was a big draw to that program, the Utah School of Massage Therapy. That anatomy component. It was something that was special because if you want to go to massage therapy school across the country, a massive amount of them, I don't even know, but it's 90% or more, do not have access to that type of anatomy training, especially literal cadaver lab. So you're going to go through a ton of anatomy in massage therapy, but you're going to learn it, textbooks and that kind of stuff. And so anyway, they were upset, needless to say, because they came into that program thinking that was part of it. And so my brother-in-law, one day he called me and he said, hey, I have an idea. I want to start a cadaver lab. And that was my reaction right there. What? Okay, I'm listening. What? I'm curious. So I have my background too is I have a little bit of a dark side, I guess, a morbid fascination with that kind of stuff, and certainly horror and that kind of thing. But this is completely different. But that intrigued me immediately. Death, bodies, that kind of stuff. And I said, so what's going on? Tell me about this. And so he just told me about them losing the contract, and he's an anatomist. He's a science guy. He's the educator. And I said, okay, so let's do some due diligence on this. I'm super curious. First and foremost, I want to know how many other programs here locally would want to take advantage of something like that, not just the Utah School of Massage Therapy, because and as an entrepreneur, I think, okay, how do we scale this? And as a physical location,
so there's a big demand.
Yes, well, yeah, absolutely, and we're going to get to that too.
Okay.
So there's a bigger demand than I even realized, really, actually. So back then, we looked at it and said, yeah, there's a big enough demand for us to do this locally on a local level. We contract with career colleges and technical institutes and stuff like that, and other programs, and then we do and host their anatomy. And we also rent the lab out for qualified organizations, and they can actually use the lab on their own. And then we also do medical device training sessions as well. So we'll do deals with like Boston Scientific, for example. They'll come in, they set up stations, and then they bring their doctors in, and they're training their doctors on new devices from all sorts of different areas in medicine. And so that's not our number one service that we provide, and so we are set up first and foremost as an education facility for anatomy and physiology. A lot of the medical device trainings and stuff like that, they're more of an OR scenario, and so you got C-arms, it's like an emergency room or an operating room set up, and so we don't hit all of those things, but we definitely do those on a fairly regular basis. But when we started, we knew we wanted to get our content online. One of the things there's some limitations, and one of those limitations is actually one of the most beautiful things about it, which is a donor, someone who donates their body in this capacity. They're donating it to science, research, and medicine and education. There's some elements there that it's a respectable thing. Like, we're very grateful for that, for those people who do that. It's an immensely selfless and generous decision that these people make. they're giving so many people an opportunity to get educated and learn more about us as humans than their body would ever do, obviously, in the ground. One of the things we talk about a lot is that studying a human body that's dead was taboo for years and years. I mean, it was a crime, and guys like Da Vinci, he had to dig bodies up out of the grave to work on them, and they didn't have preservation or anything like that. But as a species, we have limited our ability to learn more about us simply by the fact that we created a taboo around that for years and years, for hundreds of years. So I don't know where we would be if we had opened that up earlier, but regardless, so as a donor, we respect those bodies significantly. There's no, when you're in the lab, there's no pictures of at all for students that are coming in there, and but when you are in the lab physically, you're seeing the entire body. You're seeing face, you're seeing definitive marks, any tattoos, if there are anything like that. But so how do you scale that, and how do you take that to the masses when you're stuck in a building in Utah? And so we knew we wanted to go online, but we had to figure out how to do that and how to do it with respect. And so our core principle, literally, is education. We want to teach as many people as we can about the human body, and the best way to do that is digital, remote, online. And so we struggled with that for a number of years, and also time in getting the bodies prepared and ready, and then recording the courses and all that kind of stuff. He was also, by the way, my partner was also pursuing his physician's assistant's degree in California, so he was commuting, and so there was things that kind of delayed us, I guess. But so he's a practicing PA now. He's on the front lines with COVID and swabbing people and stuff like that. But anyway, so in November, one year ago, almost 1 year ago to the day, almost, but we brought on one of our guys that had been teaching for us. His name's Justin Cottle, and if you're familiar with our social accounts on TikTok, that's the face of TikTok, is Justin Cottle. And he came on full time, and we made the decision, okay, we want to go social. And how are we going to do that? We've got to be careful. We're not going to show any faces and stuff like that. And really, truly, the entire element of going social is not the look at me. I'm a social Instagram account, like my selfies, my food, or I'm a dancer on TikTok or anything like that. It's education. So that was our path forward, and I'll never forget this, man. I listen to Gary Vee once in a while, and last few years he was saying TikTok's where it's at. I promise you guys, TikTok's where it's at. So Justin, he did our first TikTok post. And it was in November of 2019, and he texted Jonathan and I, and he goes, guys, I just did our first post, and I'm pretty sure it's going viral. And I can't remember how many. It had already been seen hundreds of thousands of times, and within a few days or within a week or so, I think it's seen 15 million people had seen it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it blew up really, really quickly. And granted, it was a unique situation for TikTok, for sure. Nobody had ever seen anything like that or anything like that, or done anything like that on TikTok. And so from then on out, we just tried to capitalize and ride that wave. And so really, we had an Instagram account that was set up. It was just a logo, and it had been sitting there for a while. We had a Facebook page that had about 4,000 followers, and we had a YouTube channel that had nothing on it, and in fact, it wasn't even set up correctly when we went live with TikTok. And so within a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, we got the YouTube channel up and running the right way. And we've been off to the races ever since. And as of right now, today, I know YouTube is at about 408,000 subscribers. Wow. TikTok is well over 6 million. I'm not exactly sure which 6,500,000, I don't know, but I know it's over 6 million
That's
people.
Huge.
Yeah, and TikTok's been really interesting too, and fascinating, because when we got on TikTok, TikTok was getting popular. But at that point in time, TikTok was still largely, kids dancing and stuff like that.
So this is completely new content.
Absolutely.
For
there was some celebrities, and there were some accounts that were pretty big, but at the time when we first got on TikTok, I think like the largest TikTok account had like 20 million followers. And so it's obviously completely different now, but because of the TikTok exposure, it funneled over to these other channels,
Oh, nice.
and we're monetized on YouTube and stuff like that. And we're actually also right now working on a potentially I don't know that it's a reality show by any means. But it is a scripted television show. It's being pitched now for Netflix and Discovery and that kind of thing.
That'd be fascinating.
It will be really cool. I don't know what will happen and if anything will come of it, but the network's got to pick them up and somebody's got to get interest and buy it or whatever. But we've been working with a production company out of California to do that, and I. Personally, I'm the guy behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like so far, I haven't shown my face on any of our social media platforms yet.
Really?
Yeah. And some people know, some of our followers know, that there's a third guy involved. But really, it's Justin and Jonathan, and those guys are amazing. Their education and their ability to teach is phenomenal. And so, coming back to people, I look at Jonathan's my partner, and Justin's such an early adopter to the program. He's one of us, and people are everything. They're important. The people that you align yourself with and the partners you choose and stuff like that. It's critical that you get with the right ones.
I'm going to ask you an interesting question, because in these different journeys with different companies you've created, what's the most traumatic learning experience of your career so far?
My professional career, it's certainly been. We started a company right around the same time, man. I think it was 2009, 2010. We were importing aesthetic medical devices into the United States, and that company was forging a unique new niche into the medical aesthetic world. And it was adopted very quickly. The sciences there really worked well and stuff like that, and we blew up. And we were growing rapidly. We were on, I think we were on track to do about $4.5 million in revenue that third year. I mean, this thing started and then ran into serious problems very quickly. But what happened there is we initially paid some consultants a lot of money to correctly categorize and file our device with the FDA.
Okay.
Which we thought we had done correctly, and so we were a registered device, and we went out and we were doing great. And 3 years later, after you register with the FDA came in and looked at what we were doing and stuff like that, and the FDA determined that we weren't correctly registered.
No.
We had to do some 510K studies and stuff like that, and on top of that, we had kind of a perfect storm. So on top of that, we also got into a lawsuit with one of our suppliers around our trademark. And that lawsuit lasted, I think, in its entirety, almost 4 years.
Jeez, that's miserable.
And this is where my biggest challenge came, is that I was the COO of the company for a long time, and then I took over as the CEO. And in that lawsuit, we filed suit originally, and then the defendant filed a countersuit, and eventually, as this thing unwound, and it wasn't maybe nearly as on the scale of Thanos is or whatever, but when you're living it was a big deal. But I got personally named in another suit.
Jeez.
And so for a period of time there, I was defending not only our organization and our company, but I was also defending myself personally. And I had never been in a lawsuit. I had never filed one against anybody. I'd never had anybody sue me. And going through that entire ordeal was a whole new experience for me, and it was something that I absolutely wasn't prepared for, and it just consumed me, and the stress and the pressure and all that kind of stuff. And the coolest thing about it, the long story short, is that we ended up winning the lawsuit. I completely, I was released from my personal, me being personally named in a different lawsuit, and all this fear and anxiety that I was wrapped up in for literally years. Eventually, obviously, we win and it goes away. We won a $16.2 million judgment. We'll probably never ever collect on it. But in that process, not only that was the hardest part, the lawsuit and all that kind of stuff. That was the hardest part. But in that process, we lost the company. We had to let people go, families. people that depended on that, all that kind of stuff, the entire company. And we went overnight so we were battling the lawsuit, and then the FDA came in, and overnight we had to stop selling. And so that was.
Is that deal done now?
Well, it is done, except it's done for me for sure. But one of our partners, there was 4 partners, 3 main partners, and one of our partners ended up with the lawsuit judgment, and he ended up with the intellectual property and the trademark, and so he's still selling the devices.
Oh, so
yeah,
it's back
yeah,
open.
it's still actually, I think, selling in the United States and probably worldwide, but I was done.
So painful, right? This
Absolutely.
whole deal. Well, if you could go back and talk to Jeremy, like before all that went down, well, what's the lesson learned for our viewers out there?
Wow. So there was a number of lessons learned in that process.
Big
So,
ones. The
yeah,
big ones.
big ones. So first of all, I would think that number one, and Dan, you actually have talked to me about this and helped me on some of this for sure, which is aligning yourself with the right partners. And it's not to say that I'm the right partner or somebody else is the wrong partner or the right partner or whatever, but just make sure that you guys are aligned. Aligned in more than just, hey, let's go into business together. For me, what I learned is that I want to be aligned with partners that share my values that go beyond business and go beyond the company. And so number one is make sure you're partnered with the right people. Number two would be, in this particular issue, would be make sure that you're crossing all your T's and dotting your I's when it comes to regulatory compliance. If you're in an industry that has oversight, government oversight or regulatory oversight of some sort, just make sure you go through all of those steps and those processes that your product is compliant.
This is important. I had a friend, he sold these male enhancement pills, and he was making $8 million a month, net after that. I mean, it's a lot of cash, right?
Yeah.
And then he finds out that the manufacturer who's making his product actually had prescription drug male enhancement inside the product.
Wow.
So FDA, oh man.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is incredibly important as far as regulatory compliance and doing that. What are some things you would do in the future? I mean, if you could go back in time or going forward, if you're working on a new thing that requires FDA approval, what would you do?
Well, so that's the hard part is because we hired professional consultants that's what they did, and they came to us and said, "Yeah, this is it. This is how you're going to register your device." We paid them $70,000 to do that, and so we really thought that we were doing the right thing, and so I guess the lesson there would be double check and triple check that you are doing the right thing. The fact that we relied on a third party to provide that information for us is what ended up, hurting us in the end. And trust but verify, I guess. But I don't even know how we would have been able to verify that at the time.
That's a tough one.
To be honest with you, yeah. That one was really one of those ones that's almost like, in a way, it feels like it was like an act of God, like a cataclysm.
You did all your diligence.
Yeah,
you did the process.
Yes.
You paid the check.
Yeah, and one of those partners, one of those mentors, he's been through lots of this stuff, and so he was guiding us in this respect, and we really felt like we had done all our ducks were in a row.
Sometimes you're just going to get your ass kicked.
I guess so. And it's a good point. That's life. That is life.
You can have shields up, but sometime a photon torpedo is going to go around the backside.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Get kicked in the butt.
So the other thing that I would probably tell myself now, and I kind of wish I didn't have to learn this the hard way in that respect, but it's now part of my routine now and who I am now, and that is literally just living a life and a lifestyle with habits that support your ability to show up to life, to show up to your family, to show up to the people who are important to you, to show up to your organization. If you're doing that, you are going to have some strength and some grit and some resilience that will help you when times get tough. And times will get tough. I mean, for example, when COVID hit, I was concerned, but it was like a blip on my radar. As far as stress and anxiety is concerned, it did not impact me. It did not affect me. And in fact, Sanoderm is also now involved in a lawsuit. Same thing. That lawsuit now, I have been through the ringer on the lawsuit side. So this is absolutely, it's nothing. Now, I went through the lawsuit thing, and so that's helped me with this particular thing with Sanoderm and the lawsuit now. But what I do on a regular basis, like what I do personally, that's what I'm talking about. So taking care of yourself first and foremost, so that you can show up in every aspect of life, is what I would have told myself back then. I'd have said, hey, start doing these things. Start having these habits. Start,
What are some of those habits?
Okay, well, so
Specifically.
yeah, so one of them, one that I kind of almost is like a core thing, and I think literally it's relevant to the lawsuit situation and that challenge in my life, in business, is that I really truly try to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Oh, that's a good one.
So what I do to do that, literally now, so people do a lot of different things to do that, and I think actually, staying physically fit has all sorts of benefits, and one thing about working out for lots of people is it's not that comfortable. It's not that fun, really, right? You to go to the gym to run or whatever. Oftentimes it's a chore and it's a thing to do or whatever, and so I think that plays a part in it, and I think keeping yourself physically fit plays a part in that. But for me, and in this particular issue, what I do on a regular basis, almost daily, is I hoosh. You read that.
What's
there.
hoosh?
You read that there in the beginning, and so hoosh or
It's not something you
hooshing.
smoke, right?
No. So hooshing is actually it's something I've been doing since high school, and it was the term is coined by one of my best friends at the time. His name was Cameron Court, and he died when I was 30, and he was a beautiful human being. But what hooshing is you find the coldest body of water that you can find, and you either get completely naked. A true hoosh is you actually are buck naked, and you get yourself completely in the water, whether
So
it's a
cold
river,
water
whether it's a
plunge?
lake. It's a cold water plunge. Now, this is before I ever knew who Wim Hof was or cold water therapy or anything like that. And now if you look at that and you see what's behind that, there's actually science and evidence behind the cold water therapy or the cold water plunge, cold showers, that kind of stuff, that is actually beyond getting comfortable being uncomfortable. That's more of a psychological and emotional benefit. There is science behind the physiological benefits of cold water. Cold water
It's good
plunges.
for you.
Absolutely, very good for
Every
you.
morning, I take a 5-minute shower in the coldest setting.
That's it. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Just
Yep.
freeze. Just
And if I can't get myself in the mountains and in water in the mountains, which I prefer because I also think that
people are like, hey, there's a naked guy right there.
yeah,
in that ice. No.
that has happened. That has happened.
You're like, hello, I'm hooshing.
Yes, and I've created friends on the trail now that hoosh.
People
now.
hop in there and hoosh.
Yeah. I'm a huge proponent of it, and so I will. If I meet somebody on it, I tell them what I'm doing, and I strongly suggest you do this, and everybody who does it loves it.
Wow.
So, but if I don't do it in the mountains or I don't do it in that capacity, then I cold shower as well. So, so it's a small example, a small illustration of being comfortable, or being comfortable uncomfortable, or being comfortable with being uncomfortable, but what it does, I really believe this wholeheartedly, is that it's training your body essentially to deal with fight or flight and stress. When you go to get in water like that, every cell of your body is yelling at you not to do it. Every single time I do it, every morning, I go through the same thing. I don't want to do it. My body's kind of going, dude, don't do this, don't do this. And then when you get in, it gets even worse. Your body's screaming at you. You're releasing endorphins. You're releasing adrenaline.
Your body thinks you're dying or something.
Absolutely. Your body's like, get out of here. This is not good for you, right? So you get out eventually, whenever you do that. Sometimes we try to hold it for a longer time or whatever, but you get out and very, very quickly, you start feeling amazing. And yeah, you might be cold in the fingers and stuff like that, but then you get your stuff together and you're done. The thing about that is that you're literally training your body to knowingly put itself in a situation that it doesn't want to be in. And you not only cope with it, you not only deal with it, but you also train your body that, man, when you come through it, when you lean into it and you get out of it on the other side, you feel awesome. It was a growth experience.
I think we follow the same thing. I schedule every day 1 hour to do something I hate.
Awesome.
Something miserable as hell. And I used to hate spreadsheets, like sitting there looking at like pro formas and stuff.
Yeah.
but I forced myself to do it, and it's weird because I started liking it. And then I do hot sauce, right?
Yeah.
Hooshing,
There you go.
running, weight training, anything that like you have an aversion to, expose yourself an hour a day to that pain. Because what it makes me do, at least, and it sounds like it does it for you, is you embrace challenges, right?
Absolutely.
Then you're looking for them, because that's where all the good stuff is, right?
Yes.
I can't think of a lot of good things in life, really, that wasn't driven through pain,
Yeah.
right? Isn't
Yeah.
that-
In a lot of
seems like
ways, if you're not growing, and if you're not pushing, and you're not developing, you're dying.
Mhm.
I think you get stagnant. You get complacent. At least that's the way I look at it. And absolutely, nothing in life seems to be of true value, of something really good and powerful, or is easy.
hard.
Nothing's easy. So and in life, I look at the same thing. Is like in business and in life, it's all going to be the same. You're going to get hit with challenges, no matter what, no matter who you are. And that's one of the things too, Dan. Is I think early in my career, for the first 10, 15 years of the businesses that I was involved in and the things that I was doing, I'm not a billionaire. I haven't knocked anything completely out of the park yet. And I truly believe, Dan, that it was because I was a little bit complacent. I was doing well. I was doing great. And, my wife and I, we had things we wanted to do and all that kind of stuff. And I truly believe that I got a sense of complacency. I was a little bit too comfortable. And I went through some challenges. I had some hard stuff, and
You're pretty strong now.
and oh yeah, it absolutely has built.
You
me
kind of really
strength.
look like Obi-Wan Kenobi now.
Oh
too.
yeah, yeah, and back when we met originally, I didn't have the beard, and this just kind of happened. I thought for sure my wife was going to ask me to shave it off, but after it got to a certain point, she actually kind of likes
You're
it.
kind of wise.
Yeah, well, I don't know how wise I am, Dan, but I'll tell you what, man, I want to continue to learn. And from guys like you, like I completely appreciate our friendship and your mentorship, and anybody else that I can find that's doing good stuff, and I love learning about business and scaling and all that kind of stuff, and I definitely want to contribute to the world and to the people that I work with and stuff like that from a business side of things, but I also really want to learn on about how you can be the best you. Honestly, if you are the best you, every single person you come into contact with will benefit. You will add value to that.
Absolutely.
So that's that's my biggest lesson, Dan. My biggest lesson from all the hardship and everything that I've even been through, in businesses and things like that. And I told you that I feel like I'm just getting started now, is because it took me that long to figure that out. Now I feel like I've been on this journey here recently for the last 4 or 5 years, climbing out of that dark hole I got into during that lawsuit. That's where this new journey kind of started for me.
Your miss is your superpower.
What's that?
Your miss is your superpower.
Oh man,
Right.
Honestly,
Now you can lift X-wings out of swamp bugs, man.
absolutely, absolutely. So
I want to summarize your wisdom here for everyone to just recap, okay? I think earlier you talked about relationships being critically important for business and aligning with the right partners with aligning values. That's really huge, guys. Number 2, regulatory compliance, triple check your stuff. And this applies also to taxes or your pro formas, your P&L statements and those things. Just make sure you're not excluding things that are important in the process of putting together and running the business. So you have live life that supports you showing up. So live a life that helps you be present. So that actually kind of ties in with aligning with the relationships and those things as well. And the big one I got of this, guys, that I think is most important is be uncomfortable being be comfortable being uncomfortable. Get used to embracing that uncomfortableness, and that gives you courage, right?
Yes, it gives you courage, it gives you resilience, it gives you grit, it gives you a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I'm so excited, man, that we got to realign again and hook up, because I'm excited to see the stuff you're going to create. You're super genius. Where can people find you? Let's talk about your different companies. Where can they find those and then find you?
All right, so company-wise, you can find Sanitherm at sanitherm.com or at Sanitherm on Instagram. The Institute of Human Anatomy is the instituteofhumananatomy.com on the website. The Instagram is Institute of Human Anatomy. The TikTok is Institute of Human Anatomy.
I'm gonna go watch more of those.
Yeah, and the YouTube channels, it's all uniform across the Institute of Human Anatomy. Those are the two main that we talked about today. There is one other company that is in the process of getting built right now. It's actually what this shirt is.
Another startup.
Yeah, and that's Tat Tech, and
wow.
that's the platform for the entire tattoo industry. We're really trying to give back to the artists. That personal, that self-expression of art. Not only the artist that's putting it on the person, but the person who wants to put it on them. You know, it's a huge self-expression and independence, and kind of like, hey man, this is me. And we really think that that's a really powerful illustration of what they are. Yeah, so Tat Tech. But Tat Tech, you would want to go to tattooawards.com.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so tattooawards.com, that's where we are building out the platform. We are about ready to launch the next version of the platform, and we really showcase the artists, and we give them a place where they can come and show their art, they can compete, they can win awards, and then it connects the artists both to vendors, but also to people who want to get tattoos. So
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Can
that's
people
what
reach
it's
you? What if they want to message you? What do they want to interface?
Yeah, so I personally am not super active on social media.
LinkedIn or something?
You can find me on LinkedIn for sure.
Jeremy Jones?
Yeah, I believe it's just Jeremy Jones. It might be Jeremy Jones and then a number or something. I don't know, but yeah, for sure there. I think my Instagram account is actually private, but I think that's
Insta.
Lafoot at 44.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is I think just Jeremy
Follow
Jones.
Jeremy at LinkedIn.
Yeah, come find me there.
Jeremy,
Strava.
I'm so glad you came on the show today, and then I'm really interested to see how some of your new projects grow. And it sounds like you got good momentum in two of the companies, and your third one now that you have active. I'm really excited to see where it goes. We'll have to have you come back and share us, and maybe we could do some sort of tour of some of your businesses and
let's
talk
do that.
about that. Right?
Yeah,
Talk
that'll
about
be
some of these
great.
things. This is great, man. I sure appreciate you. Is there any last piece of wisdom that you want to give the entrepreneurs out there?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yes.
Thank you first and foremost, Dan, for having me on again. I really appreciate it. This has been a blast. But the last piece of wisdom I think that I would say is that it does come back to what we already talked about a little bit, which is how you show up in life. Taking full 100% accountability and responsibility for yourself is, when I figured that out, that kind of laid the groundwork for everything else. For me, entrepreneurialism, business, all that kind of stuff, it's an extension of people. It's an extension of who you are. At the root of everything, it's people, no matter what. And so, again, coming back to being the best that you can be, and granted, it's a process. It's a journey. There's no perfection. There's no best. It's just, and find your path. Like find what works for you. Not everybody's going to want to go and run and jump in the water. I get that, but once you find what works for you, develop those positive habits, and stick to them in consistency. And if you are dialed in, everything else will kind of take care of itself.
True wisdom, man. True wisdom,
Thank you.
man.
Thank you.
Jeremy, thanks for coming on. I sure appreciate you. And we'll look forward to episode 2 after we take the tour, though.
Right on. Yeah, let's
thanks,
do
man.
it. Okay. Thank
Friends, thanks for being here with us and on Dan's Millionaire Code. Remember, there's 2 things that I asked you, and Jeremy's giving you lots of knowledge to execute on. So 1, execute, and then 2, share it with friends and loved ones who may benefit. I'll see you guys again next week on Dan's Millionaire Code. Have an awesome day.